Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray and I teach watercolor and we are doing our bonus card tutorials for this month's box, How Does Your Garden Grow? Woo!
Hooray!
The bonus item in this box are 2 watercolor cards with an envelope, and I wanted to show you 2 different designs that you can use to create a wonderful, cute little card. And we're gonna be starting the first one today, which you might recognize the project. Woo!
Ooh, strawberries.
So we're taking our strawberries project and adjusting it so it can work for a card. Now I have all of the supplies that come in the box, and so I have everything ready to go. I also grabbed a pencil so we can practice, so we can write it out first before we paint anything. And I have my watercolor card here, and I taped it down using Holbein soft tape, and I prefer to actually paint on watercolor cards when they're folded as opposed to flat. It's just easier for me to make sure I'm painting on the right side, and that I can check my edges. So I prefer it that way, but you guys can paint it flat if you want. And I think we should just dive in.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
What we wanted to do for this bonus project is we basically, around springtime, we have some holidays coming up. There's Easter if you celebrate it. There's also Mother's Day if you celebrate it. And so we thought it would be fun to show you guys some cute little card designs. So if you wanted to make a card for either of those things and give them to someone you love, it's just the perfect little gift, okay? So I'm gonna start by actually doing the lettering first because I am not great at lettering and I don't wanna paint this whole beautiful thing just to like mess up at the last minute doing lettering. But with all of that being said, I want to acknowledge that like I am not a professional hand letterer, and it's okay that I'm not, and it's okay that you're not. And so even if it's just our handwriting, even though we might not like it, those are things that are so unique to us that when we give it to someone we love, that's what they care about. They care that it signifies that it's us, not that it's perfect. Okay?
Unless you are a professional hand letterer, then please disregard.
Yeah, then you just do your thing because you got it. Okay, so I like to have my lettering when I do cards slightly off center. So I'm gonna do it on the lower right-hand side, and then the pun, I love you very much, is what we're gonna write. But if you can think of something else, feel free.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Hopefully you've watched the tutorials to this point and you know that strawberries are aching. You should put, I'm aching for you.
Oh my gosh. That is such a good one. Okay. So you can do cursive, you can do regular. I'm gonna just kind of do more like my regular handwriting. So I love you very much. How does that look? I think that's too low. So after you write it, you got to look and say, do I have room around here to paint? This is like 1/2 inch that I have, and I'm like, that's too small of an area, so I need to move the whole thing up. Okay, so I'm going to move it maybe right here. I love you. I'm switching up my... Okay, that was pretty good.
You are the accessory flesh of my heart. They're getting worse.
I feel like those are like Valentine cards.
Listen. Why not?
Okay, now I'm actually going to paint it just first right off the bat because again, I don't want to leave the painting to the lettering the last second and then totally mess up. I just need to acknowledge that like writing letters with a paintbrush is really, really tricky. So if you want to just use a pen, just use a pen. But if you also want to learn more hand lettering, we actually have a ton of videos on the YouTube channel on how to do that, like seriously so many. So if you want to learn this skill, it's there for you. For me, I have just learned to embrace the imperfections, and it's going to be uneven lines and all of that stuff, and that's okay. I'm just going to use red, but you can use whatever color you want. Maybe I'll mix a little bit of darker color in there to make sure it shows up. Okay. So I'm just gonna follow my outline and I'm not speaking because I'm focused. Curves are the hardest part.
Are there brushes that make this easier, or are they all about the same?
Well, there are like lettering brushes that have like a soft tip so you can easily do thin and thick lines, kind of like a paintbrush, but it's a pen. Paintbrushes themselves, I'm not sure if there is one that is like designed for this type of application.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm going to call that good. Okay. And I just want to acknowledge I didn't perfectly cover my outlines. I will go back and erase those, but that's okay. And now what we're going to do is basically recreate our strawberries project, but have it kind of go around our lettering here. And if you remember that project, we start with our strawberries, then we do our leaves and our stems, and we just kind of like start big and then add small and keep adding small. So I'm gonna make sure I have plenty of red paint because we're gonna do our wet and wet strawberries. It would also be really cute, and I almost did this, but I really liked this project, so I wanted to turn it into a card. But even if you did just strawberries with no leaves, no veins, like if you really struggled with like the stems and the leaves aspect and you didn't like them, you could just do strawberries around this whole thing. That would be super cute too. All right, so let's start. I'm using my round 6 and I'm just gonna start putting in strawberries. If you want to sketch placement out beforehand, you can, but I like to live on the edge sometimes and just go for it. So that's what I'm doing. And then we drop in red. Let that color move. Remember, strawberries can be wonky in their shape, so it's okay if you get some weird kind of curves, some lovely little strawberry lumps. And notice that I try and stagger the placement of my strawberries. So I'm not trying to get them built like just totally on top of each other. I try and, this one is a little bit too on top of each other, but that's okay. Like once you recognize it, then just like make a mental note, but try and stagger it. And you can have strawberries kind of coming off the edge and the bottom. Maybe I'll do, I wonder if you could even do like, try and make some of the strawberries heart-shaped. Because some of them are, you know?
That'd be cute.
That would be cute. Okay, and I'm gonna have one kind of coming off this way. All right. And then I'm gonna actually add the stems right away, like the little leaves on the top, because I want to see if I can get some of that green bleeding into my strawberry while it's wet. So I'm just gonna mix together Tahoe and lemon to get a green. And then just put some of these in. Okay. I'm gonna go back to my 6. I like how I got some of the green bleeding on some of these. That one didn't bleed as much, but that's okay. Just that little hint of movement. Sometimes we think like, oh no, I'm ruining it. But actually it's those moments that make it really fun and beautiful and unique. So I like to embrace them and help them happen if I can. Okay, so I have my round 6. I mixed a darker green and I'm going to start putting in some like of those strawberry leaves. So I'm going to look at places where there's a little bit more space where like, okay, I could probably do with a leaf here. And let's make that a little bit brighter green. And I can do kind of coming off here. Remember, we want it to feel active. And so what that means, when I say active, I mean like energy. And to get energy in paintings, you have diagonal and lots of lines. If you want something to feel static, like still, you go for very solid straight lines. And movement is like lines going all over that are curved in different angles. Okay. And let's put in some honey brown for our flowers. So here. And I haven't really thought through, I mean, I'm approaching this one a little bit differently than how we did the project itself because I haven't laid anything out. I'm kind of just like going for it. And then when it comes to like right now adding the like lines, I'm just gonna wing it, which sometimes is like the best place to be because you just have freedom. And I like to have things go off the edges, so I'm just kind of moving everything all the way to the edge, if it makes sense to do so.
Listen, this might be duh, but this would be cute with little tomatoes too. If you just wanted to paint tomatoes on a vine.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I think that's why I love the idea of doing like watercolor cards too, because there is so much opportunity. You know what I mean? Like you can paint anything.
And it's quicker than running to the store, and it feels better to get one.
Yeah, and gosh, sometimes it's like cheaper too.
Seriously.
Sometimes cards, I'm like, this is $7 for a card.
I'm amazed at how many cards there are and how corny they are. Like, it's very hard to find like a good pre-made card. You know what I
Mm-hmm,
mean?
mm-hmm. Let's go this way. Okay, I'm gonna stop there and then I'm gonna start adding I'm gonna spread out the yellow for the petals. And right when you touch that clean water to that yellow, it's gonna kind of bleed a little bit and that's what I want. And then we're gonna do some flowers that are not attached to yellow center, kind of like the side of them. And also if you're planning on doing a couple of these of the same design, it's so helpful to batch. And that means to have like as many as you're doing, paint all of them simultaneously. So that means I would do all the strawberries in one go on all the cards. I would then do all the leaves. Does that make sense?
Just like tape 3 down on your table.
Mm-hmm. It seriously is insane how much faster you can paint cards that way.
It's probably not much slower than doing a single one.
Yeah, but it's 3 times the amount, you know? It's great. I did an extra layer of red just to make that red pop a little bit. And if you want to add like a little bit of warmth on some of them, or if you want to add some of that like kind of, excuse me, Tahoe blue to some of that red to get kind of like a purpley color, you can. I feel like this needs a leaf. Coming up that
And
way.
you get a leaf. And
And,
you get a leaf.
and you get a leaf. And there's a leaf. And I didn't do any small green strawberries, so I'm gonna see if there's any room to add them. If I don't have any room, it's not a deal breaker. Like, that's what's so great about this design is there's not like, if you leave something out or don't have room for something, it's not a big deal.
The green ones don't even taste good. No one even likes them.
Who even likes green strawberries? But I did find some spaces to put them, so I'm adding them. And then I'm gonna add some more veins down here. And as you can see, this is kind of more how I paint things is I go in and out of these different things because every new element that you add, it adjusts the composition. So I love being able to say, okay, I'm gonna start this, and then I'm gonna start this, and then I'm gonna go back to that previous one and say, how does this feel? So now that I've put in more elements, I can go down here for these like stems that I haven't put in yet and put some of those in. And now that I have all of these different elements, I can react to those. I feel like I need some brighter blue within my green. So I'm just gonna do swatches. Like whenever you're looking at this and I'm like, okay, all my greens are kind of even in color and I wanna mix it up, you can just go and drop in color into it, or even like do a little additional lines outside of it. And I'm gonna round off some of these smaller leaves because they're feeling a little too spiky. If that makes any sense.
Mm. Too toothy.
Yes. So I'm just gonna make some little adjustments. Oh, I like that blue in there. That feels pretty good. Do-do-do.
My mind is running wild with what else you could paint. And it'd be fun to do like a salsa card and do like bell peppers and tomatoes and a little cilantro on the same card. You know, you could like
Yes.
holiday theme this
Yes.
big time. Cinco de Mayo.
Totally you can. Okay, so I'm gonna mix like kind of a gray color so I can outline my flowers, and then we're on our very last step, which is just kind of like putting in the details. So I have some green on my palette. I'm gonna add some red to that and some blue. That's still too green, so I'm gonna add more red. And now that's still too brown, so I'm gonna add more blue. And now I have a nice gray, kind of warm gray color. And that's how I color mix, you guys. I add a color in, I see what it does, and I go, oh, too red, I need more green, or too blue, I need more orange, or something like that. Just the biggest thing is remembering the complements to colors, and that's how you know what to add to neutralize that color. So I'm gonna take my two and I'm just gonna shape some of these cute little leaves or petals. This can also be done with a pen. I mean, if you had the previous month's box, Wabi Sabi, it came with a waterproof pen. So if you want to turn this into like an ink and or a line and wash project where essentially you do like loose watercolor painting and then you kind of like outline everything in the pen, that would be super cute too. I'm just trying to give you ideas. Okay. And let's add the seeds. So just a dark color, as dark as you can get it. And as long as your strawberries are dry, that one's still a little bit wet. See how that's bleeding a little bit? That's all right. if you notice that and you don't like that look, then just wait till it dries. For me, I don't mind a little bit of bleeding once in a while. Okay, and then don't forget the little dots on the smaller strawberries too. Get all of them. And then I like to do, I'm gonna do red this time. Red little dots just to add a little bit of whimsy. Fill in some of that empty space. There's our card.
It's beautiful.
It's cute, isn't it cute? Okay, so you would want to let this fully dry. I've noticed that with watercolor paper, and as you notice too, when you add water to something, it starts to warp a little bit on the watercolor paper. And my favorite way to flatten watercolor paper or watercolor cards, because it's true for them as well, is I just leave them taped to the table for at least 24 hours. And that way they have full time to dry. When I untape it right away, I've noticed that my paper tends to curl and stays curled. And so that way I don't have to worry about flattening it later. So I just let it stay taped for as long as I can, and that keeps it flat. So whenever you are ready to untape it, you're going to carefully untape it, pull away. You can write a little message to whoever you're sending this to. And that's our cute little I love you very much card.
Love it.
Thank you guys so much. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.